There we go. So hi, I'm Sadie. I think my intro slide is after this, but we'll just kind of mesh it all together here. I work for Robert Half, which is world's largest and first specialized staffing firm. We got to tout those statistics. More than 300 staffing locations we are worldwide, and they have been in existence for more than 70 years. So you can flip to the next one. I am a salary professional services consultant. They call it the SPS program. What that means is that I am full-time Robert Half, and then they work on contracts and to contract me out for anywhere between 3 and 9, it could be a year at a time on different projects. So lots of variety. I've been in this position since January, so I'm still getting my feet wet with different projects, but have worked for 3 different companies. So for about 3 months at a time. So a lot of variety of different short gigs here since January. And then of course we went remote in March. So I've been working at home probably like the rest of you since March. So that's been interesting because each project brings new technology and a new email address and a new setup. So I've been able to use those skills to be able to get set up like you would in any new job. I am a graduate of both Iowa State and U of I. I bleed Cardinal and Gold, I will say. True Cyclone at heart. That's where I have 5 family members that graduated from there. So we're a Cyclone family member. I obtained my CPA in 2015 and started in public accounting in 2014. I started that CPA when I was doing my master's at Iowa State, which was good, so I didn't have to do the whole thing while I was working. I've been in real estate and senior living and also in financial industry, so I've had a variety of industry experience since public accounting. I only did my staff 1 year in public accounting before moving on, and have since been in those industries listed below. So a good variety of experience, which is what I was looking for to start my career. And Lindsay and I had coffee, I think it was 3 years ago now, where she met me personally and told me about the ISCPA, and I want to put in a plug for the good things that they do for the accounting profession, and also just the opportunities that they provide just so that we can all get together like on a day like today, and for continuing ed. I do my, once I was done with all that school you see up there, I was worried about how I was going to get my CPE because the school took care of it for the first part of my career. So they make it easy to do CPE, and I'm happy to be a part of things at the ISCPA. So that's me.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Lindsay. Nice job, Sadie. I'm a director for the Palmer Group. I've been with the company for about 9.5 years. So my background is I was a UNI accounting grad. I got my MBA at Iowa. I am like Sadie, I am an Iowa State fan. My dad brainwashed me as an Iowa State fan growing up. So I get the question, you went to UNI and Iowa, but you're an Iowa State fan. So I'm kind of the rare breed when it comes to that. I spent a majority of my career in the private side of accounting. Worked for Come and Go convenience stores in their corporate office for a while. Worked at Wells Fargo, as many Des Moines residents do, for a number of years, and then joined the Palmer Group. So Palmer Group is an Iowa-based employment firm. We have an office, our main office here in West Des Moines, Iowa. We also have an office in Cedar Rapids. And so as an Iowa-based employment firm, we kind of focus on IT, office administration, engineering, manufacturing, human resources, sales and marketing, mortgage and banking. You can see all the little categories. I'm the director of the accounting and finance recruiting team. And so we just look to help clients and candidates in making that matchmaking world of the employment world. Let's see, I think that's kind of me and Palmer Group in a nutshell.
Before we go any further, I apologize. I skipped over doing introductions of our participants. In order for our presenters to get a better understanding of who you are, can we take a moment and introduce ourselves? And I'd like to hear if you're currently a student, where you're going to school, what your plan is, what your estimated graduation date is. If you're just graduating recently, let us know where you're at in that CPA exam process. Are you currently studying? Are you working? And if someone has a question as we go along, please don't hesitate to speak up. Our presenters and myself both really want this to be interactive and answer any questions that you as participants may have. So let's start with Alex. Alex, could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Yes, so my name is Alex. I'm a junior over at the University of Iowa. But before that, my whole family actually bled Minnesota Golden Gopher blood because my mom went there. So kind of still getting used to being in Iowa. But I'm a junior accounting major. I will be interning with RSM in the spring for their tax department. And currently my plan is to go into public accounting after I graduate and get my CPA. And my graduation day will be in May of 2023 for my 150.
Great. Blake, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Sorry, it took me a little bit to find the Zoom link, but I made it. But again, my name is Blake. I also, from the University of Iowa, I'll be a senior this year, which is crazy. Currently, actually, these next couple weeks, I'll be interning for Moss Adams, which is a firm headquartered in Seattle for their tax division. And so I will be studying for the CPA probably late this fall, and then hopefully be certified before I start full-time late next fall. So that's the game plan.
Great. Maria.
I'm an instructor, an accounting instructor at Upper Iowa University. And I like to see and learn from current students near and far. And so that's why I'm here. And it's always nice to see Lindsay.
Oh, thanks, Maria.
Yeah.
Abby, welcome.
Hi, I'm a finance and accounting student at UNI currently, and I will be taking the CPA review program that UNI has spring of 2022.
Fantastic. Hi, Gina.
Hi guys, I'm Gina. I work for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation full-time and just finished my accounting classes through Upper Iowa. I have a previous degree in engineering from Iowa State, so I'm also an Iowa State fan. And I just started studying for the FAR exam.
Awesome.
Did you freeze on us, Lindsay?
She might have.
That's very exciting. Where's
She's back.
Sorry about that.
You froze
Sadie,
on
are
us
you
for a
up
second.
next?
No, I think it's Mike.
Yep. So we've got the overview slide here. So just wanted to talk through what Sadie and I will be talking about. With a lot of the world right now in that remote working capacity, what we're going to just kind of cover is video interviews, social media, and then some communication etiquette as it relates to kind of video conference calls and all that fun stuff. So I'm going to jump in and just kind of talk about video interviews. So Lindsay, if you want to jump to the next screen for us. So we do a lot of coaching both on the hiring manager side and the candidate side in regards to video interviewing. It's the top priority topic right now. And so what I wanted to do is just kind of talk through these areas that you can see on your left-hand side around just kind of setting yourself up for the best best success when it comes to a video interview or even a video conference call. So obviously the first thing you want to do is test technology. I failed to do this when we jumped on, but making sure that the quality of the conversation is good, that people, the participants, the recipients can hear you, will be an important thing. You want to kind of make sure that that you have a good understanding of how to navigate the technology. There's a lot of different technologies out there right now. So we've got Zoom and Microsoft Teams are two of the big ones, but I believe there's a few more that are out there, and they're with everything that's going on, it won't be surprising to see more technology come up around video conference calls. So just when you're dealing with it, you can just try to get comfortable with it. Sometimes with technology, you're not really going to get a chance to practice it because of the way it works with video links. But I would say if you're not familiar with it, just any chance that you can get on like this, a Zoom conference call is a good way to kind of just get comfortable with it. There's a lot of things from a setting perspective that you can do on your own. I think one example, even with this one, where you can change your name of what's appearing on your screen. Looks like everybody kind of has that, but when you first get set up, sometimes it will default to a name for you on Zoom. That was one thing that I noticed. So yeah, any questions around the technology side of things? Happy to have this as an interactive, so feel free to jump in. I'll open it up to questions just on the specific topics. But if you want to, Lindsay, jump next to the next topic. Dress professionally. This not only, we not only talk about this when you're in-person interviewing, but it's equally important when you're doing that in a conference call. Everybody has, I think, different expectations around conference calls, and especially in a business setting, you just want to make sure that you stand out in a positive manner for that. So it's no different than an in-person. You just want to make sure it's a polished professional outfit. You see a lot of nowadays where it's the business on the top side and shorts on the bottom, on the non what you can't see, which is completely fine. Just make sure you don't stand up while you're in the middle of a video call. Plan it out the night before. Obviously, give yourself plenty of time to get ready. I mean, a lot of basics, I think, when it comes to dressing professionally. Jump into setup. So I think this is probably, when it comes to video interviewing, making sure that your setup is really good. You'll want to make sure you pick a room with good lighting. I look at mine right now. There's a little bit of a backlight with the windows right now, so you just kind of want to make sure when you're setting up, have your setup, that you have good lighting. I think if you can avoid a lot of light, I look at everybody's. Lindsay has the technology where she has that background. You can create those backgrounds that will, if you don't like your setup. Zoom has that. I don't think Teams. Well, actually, Teams does have the ability to have a background that you can select. So you'll just want to make sure that your lighting is good. If you choose a background, I do know there's some really funky choices that you can select. I would encourage people just to pick a professional background setting if you're going to choose one of those preset backgrounds. Anything out? Oh, thank you. So yeah, a private, private place is very, very important. That there's little distractions. You don't want, a dog barking in the background. You want to try, there's, you have kids, you have roommates. You just want to try to limit those things. I think we're to the point now where it's people aren't surprised that there's a dog barking in the background, or there may be someone that walks in the background. That's just the life we live in nowadays. But you just want to try to have as few of distractions as possible. The last thing you want is you're trying, if you're talking to a hiring manager, they're distracted by something going on in your background. And then just it's making sure you have a clean room. It just kind of reflects on you, and everything in your background just will, whether it's right or wrong, leads to a judgment from a hiring manager, and will reflect on you. Any questions around that? Sadie, you can feel free to jump in if I miss anything too.
I think you're doing great.
Okay. So the next slide is this is similar to an in-person interview. You want to review interview documents, everything in advance. Just kind of prepare in advance. So have your notes ready. The next bullet on closing all other browsers or pages. That's just suggested just to prevent you from getting distracted on anything. And then printing out documents is always nice too. It's just something that you can go to and reference as you're going through an interview.
Hey, Mike, I had a quick question about that.
Yes.
Just a clarification. So previous interviews that I've done, I've tried to do like a lot of research on companies as far as like their history, their divisions and things like that.
Yeah.
Is there any like concrete tips as far as when you're doing company research, things that you should look for, or do you think it's kind of dependent on the company, or what tips would you give as far as like specific research for the company?
Yeah, the general is, make sure you have a good understanding of the company in general, what they do is important. And that should be pretty easy to find on their website. They're going to tell you what they're all about. LinkedIn's a valuable tool to if you're going to meet with a contact, you can look. They should be on LinkedIn, and it's okay to don't feel like you're stalking them. I think hiring managers are going to appreciate that you're actually checking them out, because they're probably checking you out too, to be honest. So don't feel like you're stalking them by going on their LinkedIn profile and just looking at their background. And one of the things when you're going through the interview process is you want to try to establish a connection with someone, and so you may see as you're looking at their background, hey, they went to the University of Iowa, and so there's going to be some commonality there that you could potentially just draw upon. So I would always suggest reviewing. You don't have to go look at their if they're publicly traded, their 10K to understand everything that's going on from a financial perspective. As you advance in your career and go to higher level positions, you certainly will want to do those types of things. But initially, just having a good understanding of the company and what they do, that just shows that you're interested in them. And that's what, at the end of the day, that's what hiring managers want, is someone that's interested in working for them and has taken the time to understand what their company is and what they do.
I would piggyback off of that to say too, Blake, that it really shows good interest and good connection if you can listen really carefully in the interview process prior to, and then add to your knowledge to ask some really thoughtful questions as far as what you'll be doing, or even how the position you're applying for fits into the role of the company, of the team, of whatever business unit they're working for. I think really thoughtful questions can also just put that one foot forward and kind of move you ahead of other candidates.
Yeah, good point, Sadie.
Yeah, thank you both. That's very helpful. Appreciate it.
So I think that, yeah, the last thing is the stay engaged. So we talk about maintaining good eye contact, know where your camera's at. When you're speaking, it's kind of hard. You want to look at them, but you also have to have that balance of kind of making sure that you're looking at the camera and kind of talking to them. I've got all of you guys on video, so I move the screen back and forth so I can make sure that I'm looking at you guys, but I'm also kind of looking at the slide presentation. So that eye contact's going to be good. They're watching you, so they'll be able to tell if you're distracted or if you're looking at something else. And then the speak up standpoint. So I think if you early on just ask the question if they can hear you okay, that's going to kind of give you a gauge for if your volume is at the right point. I think I've got a headset on. I think that just helps from my perspective to speak more clearly. I do know when I'm on conference calls and if someone's on speaker, sometimes you just get some echoes. The noise, some of these headsets have noise canceling on them, and it's just helpful. Not that you need to go out and buy a headset, but I know like there's AirPods, there's the headphones that you can connect that have the speaker on it. I think those, from what I've noticed, those seem to work better than a general speaker. And then I think I kind of jumped. I missed something on the testing the technology. Just going back to that for a second, the one thing that you probably want to try to test is just your internet speed and just making sure that you have solid speed. The worst thing that I think that can happen is that you try to do something from a laptop and you don't have a good internet connection, and then you can't the communication, you start cutting out and things don't work. I think a lot of cell phones have the technology and to where you're not necessarily going to have some of those connection issues. I've noticed it with we have 78 employees between our two offices, and early on when we were doing this, we had a lot of issues where the internet speed just wasn't appropriate, and so it just disrupts the flow. And not that you need to go out and get high-speed internet, but just be aware. I think you just want to be aware of that. It's if your internet speed on your computer is not working, you may want to consider just switching over to your phone. Any questions around any of that stuff for me? Okay, seeing none, Sadie will kind of move on from there.
Thanks, Mike. So I'm going to talk about social media and then just some communication etiquette while we're in this COVID-19 age. And so while we used to say technology is as good as its use, and thank goodness for technology while we weather the COVID-19 storm. So I think as it goes with our current situation, and also as companies figure out that you necessarily don't need to be there to do the job, that networking is going to be a key in either finding a new job or even communicating at a current role. So thank goodness we're already good at networking, because I think we're only going to get better. I think Mike's had said it before, but whether good or bad, right or wrong, the companies are looking at any online content that you have, personal and professional. So if you're like me and you've had Facebook, since you were at least 16, you have some history on Facebook, and I have some personal, like high school silly pictures that what I want an employer viewing and to see me as a professional, no, but those pictures are still near and dear to my heart. And so I went through maybe a couple years now and made all of those private. If you could go through and test that theory on me if you wanted to see what you could find. Worst case scenario, you'll see some cheerleading and color guard pictures. But I think that it's just important to be aware is the point of what is out there, that what people can find when they search for you, just in the age that we're in. With that said, I think it is, it can be an advantage for you. It can, you can use your LinkedIn profile specifically to set yourself up for success. I think that there's probably 50-50 of the people that I see on LinkedIn that have a really good professional looking photo, which just means that there is room that you can be the one with a professional looking photo. And I don't think it takes a $50 headshot to do that. I think, you know, my husband needed one and we lined him up against the Blake wall in our house and took him with our cell phone cameras are so good that he was able to get a really good professional looking photo. So I do think that that first impression wise can set you apart. And then to have that LinkedIn profile updated with your experience. I think it's the extra step to engage on LinkedIn. Sometimes I use it as my news feed and I read articles and I like other people's interests and I'll tell people congratulations on a new job. And that's really kind of just to stay connected. I do think the more engagement you have on LinkedIn, I have no scientific evidence to back this up, but something tells me that the more that you engage the algorithms, the more that you might pop up or you might be included in something. And even if that's not the case, it can't hurt to engage every now and then. So LinkedIn is actually something that, you know, when I was in college or when I was coming out, I was like, okay, LinkedIn, that sounds like update your LinkedIn profile, right? That sounds like a canned sort of to-do item on my to-do list, but it works. Recruiters reach out to you on LinkedIn. So the more you engage, I think the only good things can come from it. There is an open setting that I have used to let employers know that you're looking when I've been looking in my career. I've used LinkedIn actually for a cold interview. I reached out and just found a person that I thought her job was interesting and the path that she took in her career was interesting. And so I just reached out and I said, would you be available for coffee? And it turns out that we lived about 7 miles apart and we met for coffee one morning and we're a connection now. She's a mentor for me. And so, you know, it was a little bit scary, but it worked and I was better for it. And I think that the less that we can be in person, I think the more important that that's going to be able to be. And I think people are very willing, more willing than we think they are, to share their experience and their network and help you. So I think as, you know, those of you who are starting a new career or starting to work in general, that we shouldn't be afraid to just reach out and say, can you tell me about this? If you're trying to figure out, you know, what role you want to take. I think that is all that I have on that. Any questions or comments? Even, I think this is an interesting discussion. I think you could probably write an article on our current state of social media because it's so new in the last 10 years and, you know, how we're presenting ourselves and how we interact on there. I don't think that I don't have the opinion that everything needs to be, you know, you can't have anything personal or family related or engage anything, you know, that's what social media is for all relationships. So any comments, questions, thoughts on that? Anything from the group? It's an interesting topic.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So when it comes to LinkedIn and making connections, like what kind of people do you want to make connections with? And when you do, how should you engage in like writing a personal note to them to like ask to connect?
You know, when I've been kind of searching in my career, which I've been there and trying to figure out, you know, what kind of job or what kind of things am I looking for, specifically after public accounting. I was not shy because those people who have premium, you know, you will show up at the so-and-so view your profile. But I was not shy at viewing everyone's profile. I was not shy in understanding people's story as to their career path, you know, and where they started and then where they went after that. And then trying to, you know, figure out like, maybe that's something that I would like to do, or seeing the different jobs that people have held, because I think the further down you get in a business role, you realize that there are so many job titles out there and so much, the bigger the company, the more niche you can be, the more general you can be. Like it can be all over the board, right? And your specific interests and your specific skills could be like there's positions out there for change management which, you know, in school, I don't know if they teach you that. I did not know about change management, but you can be a change management consultant. That's all about managing process and you know, the changes that organizations face constantly. But that's not on a listing of career options, you know, that you see when you're graduating from business. So I think viewing people's LinkedIn updates and seeing some of their titles or some of their transitions, that led me to say, I just want to know about it. You know, I want to know how they thought, how it went, and, you know, what they learned from it. And I think even if you have no agenda, like you don't want to be that person or you don't want their position, I think it's learning from each other is never bad. So that's the way I approached it.
Thank you.
Alex,
Yeah.
I would add just to Sadie, you know, connect with anybody that you want. I mean, if they look interested, I think if you personalize the connection request, it just helps. You know, when I get all kinds of connection requests, and anytime, you know, if someone personalizes the message and just says, hey, you know, I saw your background, you know, I'm an account, you know, I'm in accounting, I'm looking for a job, need some help and some guidance. You know, from a new grad's perspective, yeah, just give them a little bit of the why behind why you want to connect. People want to help others, especially you know, individuals like myself and Sadie, and you know, we're here. You know, we've been there. We were that recent accounting grad that was looking for that first job, and so we know where you're at. We know how intimidating it was. And can be overwhelming. So as Sadie mentioned, don't be afraid to reach out. People have been in your spot, and they're happy to help out if they can.
Thank you.
Can I jump in real quick? I would encourage individuals who are student members to list your Iowa Society of CPAs student membership on your LinkedIn profile. That's something that it shows that you have taken the initiative to connect with the professional organization of your future career. Make sure you like the Iowa Society of CPAs page, both on Facebook and on LinkedIn. Follow us, stay connected. I think that shows dedication to the profession on your part.
Alrighty. So some good statistics in here. So 47% of senior managers said an online portfolio or personal website is the best way to stand out. So definitely something to leverage. And then 49% of senior managers are impressed when you're connected with their current employees. So, I mean, even I think more so in the digital world, people know people. And I always say people run businesses. So, you know, every business is a people business because it takes people to work in all of them. So I just think, you know, those connections, or that if you can develop a personal connection, I think that speaks to go back to talking to people. It's kind of like plant your flowers before you need them, or plant your vegetables, you know, before you want to watch them grow. I think developing those personal connections when you don't have an agenda, or you're not, you know, you don't have a need for a job right now, they will benefit you later, or they couldn't, and it's just a good conversation and a learned experience. So I definitely don't think there's anything bad with the connection, especially in a no pressure situation. So. Alrighty, so communication etiquette. You can flip to the next slide, Lindsay. So I think communication only becomes more important as we don't get the face-to-face interaction that we used to, and you can't over-communicate. I took a few MBA classes on communication because this is a topic that is particularly interesting to me, and how we communicate and how you communicate successfully, basically. And some of the main things that I got from those classes were that there's so much room for error in communication that it's amazing we ever communicate well. That, you know, we should pat ourselves on the back when you have a good conversation, because there are so many pitfalls that can happen in any given communication conversation. So I think just as it pertains to managers, and as I've used starting new roles during COVID, is that it's important to set expectations. And one of my first questions after I've been explained, what I need to do is, what is the deliverable? What are they looking for? Is it an Excel sheet? Is it a list? Is it just the research? Or, what are they expecting at the end of it? And then when are they expecting? So I think to set expectations is particularly important when they're not watching you work, or when you're not in a space where, you're in close proximity. Asking for feedback is always good. I don't think that that's bad, or, did I miss anything? Could I have done anything different? Would you like to see anything different? Sometimes people miss directions, and there's an important direction that they might not have communicated, but they, once they reviewed, they remembered that they wanted it this way. And so that's okay. So questions are good to make sure you're on the right track there. Bullet point 2. I'll say this for those of you who are going to begin your careers. When I began, I just remember feeling shy or afraid to ask questions, because I was thinking that I was bugging them, or they had more important work than what I was doing, so that I didn't want to ask. I think that's a mistake, and one that I've learned from since, because you can't, if you're not progressing forward, they want you to come ask questions. And I've since been managing people, and I want them to move forward. And if I need to stop what I'm doing to help them move forward, then that's what I need to do as a manager. So I don't think there's no harm in asking questions if you're stuck and you're not bugging them, so to speak. So go ahead on the next slide, Lindsay. So communication with teams, every project that I've been on so far has a daily meeting. So I think that's how a lot of teams are managing, the virtual aspect of things. So same goes kind of for virtual calls that Mike had mentioned. It's important to know the technology. It's important to focus on the meeting. It's easy to multitask, especially when you can see everything around you in your home that might need attention. Guilty as charged. But I think listening becomes even more important, because we're not face-to-face. Listening is a good skill anyway when you are face-to-face, but and even more needed when we're not. So with this one, this is the last slide I had, but in preparation for this presentation, I kind of pulled my small circle, my husband and my brothers and sisters, on virtual meeting do's and don'ts, I should say, because we've been at this for 4 months now, and we've for those of us who've been working, or even if you're in school and you're on meetings, we've definitely seen we've all seen do's and don'ts, which I think we all know what those look like. But anecdotally, I think it's fun to share some of the feedback that I got, or some of the stories that I heard. My husband shared a story about multiple people eating on the call, and while I think we had lunch meetings before COVID, right, where we all ate, it was an important call with some executives, and the smacking was getting particularly loud and distracting. So I share that for anecdotal. For your anecdotal smile, because we know we're all human. Another story that I gleaned from my asking around was my sister had a virtual meeting with some people in Boston, and everyone could hear that this person was on the treadmill running, and they could hear the pat, 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 and actually had to call this person out to say, we know you're on the treadmill. Can you please stop doing that? We can all hear. And the person didn't realize that they could hear them, and he then comes on the screen very sweaty and like he just got off the treadmill. So simple things that that happen. I won't tell you guys not to eat on calls, or like don't be on the treadmill. That some of those are like common sense with the group that you're working with, but they definitely make for good stories in the time that we're in. So question on communications or working in the COVID world for those of you who are going to be new graduates.
Hey, Sadie, I might add to that a little bit.
Yeah.
So, having your video on or off is kind of a big, there's a lot of questions around that, especially in team meetings. I would say if you're new to a team, have your video on. It just shows that you're engaged in the meeting, and people want to see your face. And when the video's off, you might have hiring managers going, well, what's going on? So just kind of follow what the group is doing. If everybody has their video off, then maybe it's okay. But again, when you're kind of early in your career and you're looking to stand out, have your video on. It will. If everybody has their video off and you have yours on, at least it just kind of it will stand out, just that you're engaged in the meeting. And I'm a manager. I have 8 direct reports, and I just like to see their faces. It's just more personal in nature, and not that I'm really questioning what are they doing. Are they doing something else? It's just good to see faces. I miss seeing people in person and having those conversations. And I think when you're in team meetings, having that video interaction is a good thing. So I would always default to have your video off, unless the manager says, hey, you can turn your videos off, or whatever.
Agreed. I had one other thing too that I did want to say. The new knock on the office door, which I used to utilize quite frequently, is now pick up the phone. So if it is something that is just a little bit more complicated, that maybe needs a little more detail, or than a 1-line, 2-line email, if this is what I did, or this is a problem I'm stuck on, it's just easier to pick up the phone. It's, like I said, it's the COVID-19 way of knocking on the door of the office. I found that helpful in building relationships thus far, and since we can't do that, it's good to pick up the phone, so instead of an email.
And the chat function, a lot of them have the chat function now too. Email, if you need something, email is like the last thing I would do.
Yeah.
I would either, like Sadie said, pick up the phone, or send a quick chat, just asking if they have a minute to connect.
Okay, group. What questions do you guys have?
I had a quick question regarding about that. I'll be quick. Quick question, either to Sadie or Mike's over LinkedIn. So like I said, I am in an internship right now that's going to be done July 31st. I get to do some projects and things like that. What would you recommend are some good points to put on like a LinkedIn post to summarize my experience that recruiters would be looking for?
Mike, I'll let you start with that one.
Yeah, so I would, I think hiring managers are always looking at how you added value. So, for an internship, you definitely want to kind of highlight the bullet points of what you're involved with. But if you can also maybe just, if you're on a project, what did the project accomplish? It would be a good thing.
Eventually, Blake, if we'll be honest, that internship will fall off your resume. We'll hope. I don't have all of my internships on mine any longer. So I think when you're starting to, along with what that project accomplished, I think it's even good to list things that you learned when you're so fresh in your career as an intern. I listed things that I just learned, or that I got the ability to experience. One of my internships was at Cargill, and I experienced some travel and their different business units, and that was always an interesting bullet point to be able to talk about on interviews, because I saw something that I hadn't seen before. It was one of their business units was majority, their customer base was majority Hispanic, and I got to see like different products, and it was a whole new world for me. So to show that I was open to that new experience, or that I actually took something from that new experience, was also, you can talk about it in interviews. If it's, the bullet point makes it able to be talked about in interviews, right? That's the point of the bullet point. So anything that you learned, or an experience that you inherited and kind of and mold around and have some thoughts on, that's good to share.
I have a quick question too. My internship currently is online, and I have a roommate that has an online internship as well. And so we have vastly different experiences with the different companies. They just took a vastly different approach. One company has entire content and like is all ready to go, has client meetings that we're invited to. And then the other one, their company was not prepared. So in that situation where she's not necessarily, like this company is not giving work, or you're not really learning anything, you're literally just logging online, what would be a good next step for, do you ask for another internship? Do you know, like where do you go with, maybe this wasn't the experience you were looking for and you can't necessarily commit to a full-time job?
I can, so that same internship that I told you about, that I had all these great experiences on, big company, so their internship experience was really a, as it should be used as a channel for potential full-time employment. You get to basically, the intern and the company gets to kind of test drive each other and see if it's a fit. So not all the time was I busy, and I don't think that is uncommon, especially when I think that it's not uncommon for CPAs to be really eager for experience and also really quick workers and thinkers. And you take your manager and you say, well, you asked me to do this and I have it done in 15 minutes and now what? And they say, they anticipated that would take you 2 hours. So I think that kind of sometimes goes along with the territory, and I have definitely experienced that. What I would tell that person to do is not be shy in pressing for, more work, and that it is a two-way street, and that yes, you are working for them, but you also are looking to gain the experience that you were looking for, right? And so I was not good at that, in that role, at saying, like, I would like more things to do. I have the ability and the time to take on more work, and I would like that. And I don't think that anyone is going to fault you for that. If it makes them a little bit more uncomfortable to try to find new projects, then so be it. I never wanted to make anyone uncomfortable, but that might be the case, right? And that you make someone just a little bit uncomfortable so that they can find you more work. But also, if you're a good worker, which if you're asking for more work, chances are that you're going to return, that work, and they're going to say, wow, I can really, I can offload more things to them, and I can give them more responsibility than I thought I would. And all of a sudden here they have a helper they didn't even know they had. Whereas if you stay silent, you're robbing yourself of the experience, but it might be more on you than what you anticipated it would be.
Yeah, I would add to that. It's a fine line, Abby, and you don't want to just be sitting there as a hiring manager. Someone that is sitting there and just waiting for someone to tell them what to do is very frustrating. I seek out things. It's not just the manager that you're reporting to. It could be a coworker. Hey, I've got some extra time. What can I help you with? If you come across that helping mentality, and not the I'm bored, I'm not challenged, come across as I'm here to help. What can I do? I would, with your roommate, there might be some things where I don't know which one is not having the greatest of experiences, but you can use what the other roommate is experiencing and go to your manager and say, hey, are there any any conference calls I can be involved with just to learn more about the company? Are there things that I can do that I can learn more about the company, and are there other ways that I can help?
That was cool. Thank you.
I have a question for either Sadie or Mike. So I have a unique background. I'm not just a traditional student. I'm not right out of college. And so I do have a unique background that I would like to bring to an accounting firm or private company. So what would the process be for either of your companies for me to reach out to you? And then what type of help can you give me? I'm not yet looking for a job. So what do you guys do as an organization, as a business, to help people who are looking for jobs?
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, you have to leverage what's the background that you have. and kind of, to get to where you want to be. So I'm gonna, I'll talk specifically about you, Gina, but I'll talk about my background. I was, I'm one that always likes to learn. So I was, my first job right out of college was with an advertising agency. And then I was up in Cedar Falls right out of college, worked there for a couple of years, and then I moved down to Des Moines. And I had a firm help me with finding a job down here, and I had an offer from another advertising agency and an offer from Come and Go, and I wanted to broaden and learn more things. So I went to Come and Go. It was a bigger company. I just wanted to learn a lot of different things. So kind of having an understanding of you, what challenges you, and kind of where you want to be, will kind of help you with how to leverage what you currently are doing. So you've got the engineering background. You can use that. You could potentially use that from an industry perspective to get into another company in an accounting position. When we're helping companies with their needs, if someone knows the industry, that's probably number one over a person's skill set. So if they understand the industry, it just puts them a leg up. So that's Gina, for you, I would encourage you to kind of leverage your engineering background with other engineering firms that might need someone to help out with accounting, or if it's compliance. I mean, there's as Sadie had mentioned earlier, there's a lot of different roles that someone with an accounting background can get into. It's just nuts what that background can do for you, from just setting yourself up from a future perspective. You add the CPA to that, and it's just huge. I mean, from a hiring perspective, when I'm working with clients, they like the CPA, especially when it comes to accounting positions. It just shows that they have that technical aspect, that they really know accounting. Hopefully that helped.
Yep.
So I'll share with you, Gina, a book that I'm reading right now that it is super interesting to me. It's called Range by David Epstein, and it takes he takes two athletes, Tiger Woods and I'm gonna mess up on the other one, a multi-sport athlete. I'm spacing it. It's someone very famous, but basically the thing is that if you do something your whole life, right, and you become really specialized in it, the Tiger Woods method, or this other athlete that I'm failing to remember, and you try everything before this athlete got to what they want. It's a really interesting book because it's basically saying that range, because you've done multiple different things, it gives you a really unique perspective that no one has. When you replicate classical music, all you've done is redo what someone else has made famous, right? But if you're the jazz musician that has classical background, now you have your spin on it. So I think there's definitely ways, and read the book if you want, because I'm halfway through and it's really good. But there's definitely ways, I think, to leverage the fact that you're not, you don't have the same path as everyone else, and you came from something different, and you can see different concepts, maybe that someone else couldn't, right? So I just think that you can totally use that as a strength. As a candidate, I will also say that I haven't tried to do this, but I have gained many of my jobs through staffing agencies and different staffing agencies. So I won't tout the Robert Half here. I will just say they're like anyone that I have worked with. Des Moines has a lot of them that are just good people. They're just good people. So I think it doesn't hurt to put your name in the hat at staffing agencies and just to see what happens, just because there's no pressure from the candidate side. So I have found staffing agencies useful, especially in accounting and finance. I think a lot of companies, and Mike's probably going, well, of course, Sadie, a lot of companies use staffing agencies, because hiring is not easy. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're just they're there to help you with making connections. And I think the one thing with staffing agencies is they've gotten to know you a little bit. They know your background, they know your strengths, and they can and they can convey those to a hiring manager, where if you send a resume, sometimes it just gets lost in the shuffle a little bit.
Right.
Okay, well, we are coming right up on 1 o'clock. Sadie, Mike, thank you so much. Great presentation today. To the participants, I will send out this presentation so that you'll have all the contact information. And please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have questions while you're in school or after you've graduated as well. So we are all here to help. I do encourage you to jump onto the ISCPA link on our website and see how many people you can connect with through link. You'll be very surprised that most of our members really want to help future CPAs through the process. So it is a wonderful career path, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you very much for being on with us today. Everyone participated, and I really appreciate that. Let us know if there's anything that we can do to help you along the way. Have a great day.